So, hi everyone, I'm Kevin Hellier. I'm from Melbourne Water, and I'll also like to introduce Jonathan Crook, who's from South East Water, and Jonathan's going to help me in leading this data and analytics program, taking over from David Bergman, who has been leading the program for the last 12 months, and I'd like to really acknowledge the great work David's done to progress it further and get the working group going and set up a number of workshops that have helped us prioritise. So I'm going to take you through some of the projects that have been completed as part of the previous program, the precursor for data and analytics, which was the flagship program. So it's, for those new to IWN, the flagship program was one of the first programs of the IWN. It's got a new name. It's now Data and Analytics Program. I'll give you some insight into what the working group's up to. Jonathan's going to talk about the Ozwater workshop that we ran on artificial intelligence earlier this year. And then there's a piece of work that Deakin University have done for us recently called Digitisation of Victorian Water Utilities. So that relates a lot to data and how we use data. So we've got a lot of tie-in for this program. So the previous flagship program achieved a couple of really great outcomes from two main projects. One was the Water Dynamics project that Dean's already described. So you've got a little bit of insight into that. And the second one was the OSI Pi software trials that Lower Murray Water and East Gippsland Water participated in. And that, with the help of a company called GTS, produced about 8 or 9 dashboards, visualisations that, using data, ranging from pump performance dashboards, ESC performance information, infiltration, inflow dashboards. So Pi is a software package that basically it's a data historian for your real-time time series data. And so that really demonstrated what we can do with and how different data can be presented in different ways with that software and the value that we can get out of it as businesses. There's great opportunity coming from that around, or two main areas. One is how can we get better access to that software, potentially through a better procurement arrangement with an enterprise agreement. And the other opportunity is how we can maybe set up a Pi so that we can share data in a collaborative online platform with it rather than having our own separate systems. So, and I'll come back to that as a potential opportunity in a minute. So earlier in the year, David did a great job in setting up our working group. So we've got a representative from each water business. And we ran 4 meetings during the year. 2 of them were longer workshop sessions. It's fair to say that we've had a mixed participation. It's been hard to get some of the water businesses reps involved yet. So I think Jonathan and I have got a bit of work to do to sort of try to rally that interest and make it easier and inspire people and get the right people involved. But those we have had involved, it's been great, and we've worked together on looking at what are the opportunities around data and analytics for our businesses, done some brainstorming, prioritised the opportunities that we want to develop further as IWN projects. Emphasis on sharing our knowledge, building capability, and, as I said, doing some joint projects together. And here's what we've come up with. So there's 5 key areas that we want to develop further. They're around how we manage and analyse data for being more predictive around sewer blockages, how we improve data quality, that's a bit more generally around the use of data. Using sewer CTV footage and doing that smarter, not with the sort of manual analysis we do today. Wanted to explore the opportunities around putting some of our water industry data out more openly to the public, to the community, to see what value we can get from not just doing the analysis in our own world, but see what others can bring. And then OSI Pi. So this is in one sense, a continuation of that flagship project where we can explore setting up a collaborative data space, get our data standards and methods and metrics right, and set up a cloud-based instance of the Pi platform and see what value we get out of sharing information, benchmarking information, using common data standards. Pump data benchmarking, pump performance information was where we thought we'd start on that front. But there's obviously other opportunities. So I encourage you, if any of these are grabbing your attention, you've got an interest, you know your water business has an interest in these, or you can link us up with what you're doing, or people in your business, shout out, let us know about it, because we'd like to not start from scratch, but use the intelligence and the experience that's in our businesses as we kick off some of these things. So we're at the point of scoping these up. The metro region is taking on that last one in the list there, around the Pie in the Sky project, basically because the metros all have a Pi system at the moment, and Yarra Valley Water are building theirs. But there's great opportunity to be involved in all of them. And I'm now going to bring Jonathan up. Welcome, Jonathan. And he's going to talk about the Ozwater workshop.
So thank you, Kevin. I suppose the first thing I should ask is, who actually attended the Ozwater Analytics Conference, Analytics workshop? And a few? Okay, so I'm not going over too much old ground for people. The first thing about it is it was an incredibly successful workshop that David ran, so full credit to him and the people that helped facilitate that. I think there are a few here as well. This was standing room only. There was packed full of tables, and then people still standing in the back trying to get in. So it shows that there's a lot of interest and knowledge that data and analytics can help the water industry. And we sort of had, I guess, three groups of people there. One were people who acknowledged that data analytics was important, but didn't really know how to start off in that process. We had a second group of people, including consultants who had been using data and who were looking to share what they knew. And then we had, I suppose, a third group who did have an interest in data analytics, but they needed to be convinced that data analytics was the way to go and that it could actually improve on what we'd always been doing. So that's something we're still encountering as we start to try and push data analytics as a process and as a working group. When we came out of that, one of the questions that was asked was, what are the priority problems for some of the groups out there? And they can almost be split into maybe two key areas. One is around the data quality itself. So we've got things like data quality insurance. Are we collecting the right data? Is the data that we're getting in properly calibrated? A second area, which is a bit broad, but it's around asset information, maintenance, optimization of operation. And there is a third group, and it's less up there, and I'm hoping that's because the question was, what are the problems that are identified? Because the third group that possibly should be involved, that's very important for dynamics, is the customers. And I'm hoping that we just haven't got up there because people don't look at customers as problems. The other two questions that were asked, the game changers and the opportunities for AI in the water industry. So the game changers are effectively, what do we need to do that's going to really make a difference and let people start implementing advanced data, advanced analytics in the system. And also I use the word advanced analytics as opposed to artificial intelligence, because some people think of artificial intelligence as a little robot walking around and doing things for you, whereas obviously advanced analytics is a little bit more broad than that. So excuse me if the terminology is a bit different. Yeah, in terms of the game changers, the things that what we need to do, we need proof. We need the quick wins. We need to be able to show that advanced analytics can actually make a difference to the water industry. We need to make it easier for people to understand it so people can trust it. So we don't want the jargon. We want people to be able to understand the models that these analytics are actually producing. We need to share both success and failures so that People can either learn from where you failed or they can improve on the models that you've been able to implement. And be willing to take a risk, especially with data analytics, because it's not like building a treatment plant. If you don't get it right, particularly when you're looking at old data, it doesn't really matter that much. Obviously, if you build a treatment plant wrong, there are some issues there. And then the opportunities or how we're actually going to achieve that. And a lot of this, as you can see, isn't actually necessarily about the projects themselves, but it's about how you might be able to get these projects to work. You need clean data. Dean's already mentioned the water dynamics trial with the fact that you had 12 months and just being able to try and get everything together, get the right integration model for all of the different source platforms that you might have with data. So that's make the integration easier. And then being able to actually operationalise or productionalise these models so that the water businesses are actually gaining value from these models rather than just having them sit on someone's computer and never get used again. And then from there, hopefully we can start to move from descriptive analytics, where this pipe's broken, to predictive analytics. These pipes are going to break in the next 5 years, and then prescriptive analytics. So go and fix these 3 pipes to reduce your risk profile sufficiently.
A lot of this information you can find on the IWN Knowledge Hub. So for those who might not have experienced the hub before, it's basically a repository of where our information reports and documents can be sourced for all the water businesses. So the water dynamics and PI trials, the Ozwater workshop outputs, they're all there as well, including this bit of work that was done by Deakin University and Professor Carol Borg recently. She's recently prepared this report, so you can find this as well. It's basically given us the state of play for our industry with respect to being digital utilities, and it has some strong links with data. So it's a pretty hard-hitting sort of report. It sort of indicates that we're not so good, really. Lots of room for improvement. We've got some really variable, patchy approaches to the way that we use data and the digital systems that we have. Our understanding of what that is, and a bit of reluctance to sort of move into some of those areas in some areas that are listed here. I won't go into the detail, but you can see this. You can see sort of the feedback in the report. But one of the things the report does, it takes a strategic view. So it links to the Victorian government's policy on data sharing and digital asset strategy, and recommends that we have that coordinated approach across the industry to meet those government policy objectives. And so the proposed projects that are there are fairly practical, so it doesn't just stay at a policy level. We've got some tangible sort of strategic projects that we can link into. And they are around having good data, the foundational stuff, having good data management and a strategy around that, building capability in people and processes, having a collaborative sharing platform, I think not just for data, but how we go about managing information and data, and sharing our knowledge. Doing a trial around digital twin. So this is a jargon term that's grown, especially around building industry, but it's basically about bringing asset information together and in more advanced ways, so that we can harness that information, all towards more of the sort of advanced analytics that Jonathan was talking about before, where we can get that value out of automation, much more efficient management of assets and customer services. So it's the reason I guess I put this up as part of this program is that a lot of what we're doing will link into these strategic directives. So the working group's taken a bit more of a bottom-up approach, and this gives us a bit of a strategic direction to link it into, I think.